So this is what I suspect is going to happen. The U.S. Attorney Durham is going to create a report. And in that report, it's going to fall along the lines of Barr's criticisms of the abuses targeting President Trump by the Obama spy masters. And there's not going to be much in the way of criminal prosecutions flowing out of such reports. So we're eventually going to be getting a glorified IG report and no prosecutions of senior officials. Now, maybe something will happen that will change all of that. I don't see it changing. Not if this is the approach the Justice Department is taking. And the president was probably being charitable when he said he was surprised by Attorney General Barr's statements, because I'm sure he's probably outraged by it. He's been victimized criminally in so many ways. You have General Flynn victimized criminally, in my view, in so many ways. They spied on Carter Page by lying to the courts. And you'll see later they had no good faith reason to open up these investigations to begin with. And Obama was intimately involved in this. The White House wanted to know everything. POTUS wants to know everything. Indeed, you had that infamous January 5th meeting, which we now know more about, where Comey and Obama are implicated as co-conspirators in this conspiracy against the incoming president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Susan Rice had this memo, and I've talked about this memo before. The media has been ignoring it because it implicates Barack Obama because he's protected by the media. And Barack Obama had a meeting on January 5th during which he talked about the dossier. And as Sally Yates describes, the phone call between Kislyak, the Russian ambassador, and General Flynn. Yates was shocked by it. And she was also surprised about the comments, it sounds like, about whether or not they were going to be withholding information from the incoming White House. So this memo Susan Rice wrote, she was involved in the meeting. She wrote the memo the day the president was inaugurated at 12:15 p.m. When did the president take the oath of office? Is it 15 minutes before or after that memo was written? But the fact that I'm asking the question tells you that this memo was written for improper purposes. The paper, the record, indeed, we now find out that supposedly it was written at the behest of Obama White House counsel. And this is the memo that Rice wrote. And it's worth reading because it's evidence that I think Attorney General Barr needs to consider before giving Mr. Obama a get-out-of-jail-free card. On January 5th, following a briefing by IC leadership, intelligence community leadership, on Russia hacking during the 2016 presidential election, President Obama had a brief follow-on conversation with FBI Director Jim Comey and Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates in the Oval Office. Vice President Biden and I were also present. President Obama began the conversation by stressing his continued commitment to ensuring that every aspect of this issue is handled by the intelligence and law enforcement communities, quote, by the book, unquote. Do you believe that? Who talks like that in a meeting? I just want to go on record that I want everything to be done by the book. And then, of course, they then proceed to talk about how to do things not by the book. The president stressed that he's not asking about initiating or instructing anything from a law enforcement perspective. He reiterated that our law enforcement team needs to proceed as it normally would, by the book. These are lawyer words. This isn't truth. From a national security perspective, however, President Obama said he wants to be sure that as we engage with the incoming team, we are mindful to ascertain if there is any reason we cannot share information fully as it relates to Russia. So they were going to deny the incoming president of the United States intelligence information about Russia? Yeah. Director Comey affirmed that he is proceeding, quote, by the book, again, in quotes, as it relates to law enforcement from a national security perspective. Comey said he does have some concerns that incoming NSA Flynn National Security Advisor Flynn, is speaking frequently with Russian Ambassador Kislyak. Comey said that that could be an issue as it relates to sharing sensitive information. President Obama asked that Comey was saying that the NSC should not pass sensitive information related to Russia to Flynn. Comey replied, potentially. He added that he has no indication thus far that Flynn has passed classified information to Kislyak, but he noted that, quote, the level of communication is unusual. Well, that's the new paragraph, by the way, that just come out. I'm going to go back to it. The president asked Comey to inform him if anything changes in the next few weeks that should affect how we share classified information with the incoming team. Comey said he would. I want you to think about what I just read to you. You had Barack Obama and his FBI director basically smearing the incoming national security advisor based on nothing. Comey says he didn't share classified information with the Russians. They had already talked about the call, by the way, so they knew what he had said to the Russians. So implicit in this is he did nothing wrong. If you want to know why they had if you want to know that there was no basis to investigate Flynn on the calls to the Russians, you have it here because they're talking about it. And Comey said, oh, well, I'm nervous. He's talking to him too much. Well, what business if it is his? This is Comey just smearing Flynn. And they talk about potentially seditiously undermining the incoming president of the United States by refusing to provide intelligence information to his top deputy on national security matters, General Flynn. And sure enough, if they were so concerned about it, why didn't they tell President Trump about it? They were going to visit him the next day. Oh, no, wait, that was something else they had planned because they weren't going to, quote, brief him in any reasonable way about what was going on. They were going to confront him with the salacious and unverified P-tape dossier. Another ambush interview. So this Oval Office meeting, you had three issues pop up here. You had the Flynn conversations pop up, which, as we now know, they all acknowledge were improper. You had the dossier confirmation discussion pop up. Again, salacious and unverified. They all knew that wasn't true, yet they were going to try to ambush the president the next day. Obama was briefed on that. So here you have Obama at the scene of the crime. So I'm a little perplexed that you have the Attorney General essentially say, well, there's no information to suggest any criminal activity here. Well, I think this is information that suggests something that at least needs to be investigated, don't you? It's really disturbing that the Justice Department, and I know I've been saying it for some time, but we got to really focus on it, that you have this criminal activity going on at senior levels, these major abuses, and there's been no serious investigation of it. No one's been questioned in any senior ranks. And it's too late to do much of anything because, as Attorney General Barr mentions, it's an election year. Although he says the rules against Justice Department rules against indicting candidates during election year, that they kind of frown upon it, doesn't apply because the people they are thinking of indicting aren't candidates. What does that tell you if you're Joe Biden? Hey, I'm free. Nothing to worry about. Burisma, they won't do anything on Burisma. China, they're not doing anything on China. Yeah, don't worry. I told the Ukrainian leaders that they were going to lose $1 billion unless they fired that prosecutor who coincidentally was investigating my son's company. Oh, yeah, and they did it. No, they won't be investigating that for a shakedown. Oh, don't worry. They won't be investigating China giving a sweetheart major concession to my son's company worth $1.5 billion or so. A business that was effectuated on a trip that he took with me to China. I'm free and clear there. And meanwhile, Susan Rice, who's serving as the cover-up artist here, as I've been saying again, I'll say it again, I've been saying many times before, and I'll say it again, Susan Rice is now chairing the Reopen DC initiative, which means that DC is still closed for the foreseeable future. So you got the coronavirus and Obamagate unholy mix with Susan Rice running the show here in DC.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.